Well, the Democratic presidential nominee, Kamala Harris, did an interview with Stephanie Rule, and there was a part in there I want to cover and give my commentary afterward.
Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future.
Yeah.
But still, there are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic. But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. But we don't lack for those things. But not everyone, you know, gets handed stuff on a silver platter. And so my vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions, which include, for middle-class families, just being able to know that their hard work allows them to get ahead, right? I think we can't and we shouldn't aspire to have an economy that just allows people to get by. People want to do more than just get by. They want to get ahead. And I come from the middle class. Look, my mother raised my sister and me. She worked hard. She saved up. By the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. And, you know, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. You know, gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream. So part of my vision for the economy is let's deal with some of the everyday challenges that people face and address them with common sense solutions, such as affordable housing.
Over the last 4 years, there have been tremendous economic wins, and you've just laid out a big plan. But still, polling shows that most likely voters still think Donald Trump is better to handle the economy. Why do you think that is?
Well, here's what I know in terms of the facts. Donald Trump left us with the worst economy since the Great Depression when you look at, for example, the employment numbers.
It was during COVID, and employment was so high because we shut down the government, we shut down the country.
Even before the pandemic, he lost manufacturing jobs by most people's estimates, at least 200,000. He lost manufacturing plants. Ask the auto workers how he lost auto plants. We have grown over 20 new auto plants. He has an agenda. Let's just deal with right now going forward, not to mention what happened in the past. He has an agenda that would include making it more difficult for workers to earn overtime, an agenda that would include cutting off access to small business loans for small businesses, an agenda that includes tariffs to the point that the average working person will spend 20% more on everyday necessities and an estimated $4,000 more a year on those everyday necessities, to the point that top economists in our country, from Nobel laureates to people at Moody's and Goldman Sachs, have compared my plan with his and said my plan would grow the economy, his would shrink the economy. Some of them have actually assessed that his plan would increase inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. So the facts remain that Donald Trump has a history of taking care of very rich people. And I'm not mad at anybody for being rich, but they should pay their fair share. But tax cuts for the billionaires and the top corporations in our country, and then not really paying much attention to middle-class families. My perspective on the economy is when you grow the middle class, America's economy is stronger. And there's empirical evidence to prove my point correct.
Then let me ask you about taxes, because lots of people will say, I don't like Donald Trump, but he cut my taxes. He didn't just cut corporate taxes, he cut individual taxes. Now, that expires next year, and there's some people confused saying, I don't know what's going to happen next year. Under a Harris administration, at what income level should someone expect their taxes to go up? And that state and local tax deduction that's currently capped and matters to a lot of people in blue states, are you going to lift that cap?
So, first of all, when it relates to anybody making less than $400,000 a year, your taxes will not go up. Your taxes will not go up. And in fact, under my plan, taxes for 100 million Americans will actually be cut, including $6,000 a year for young couples for the first year of their child's life in a tax cut, a tax credit, essentially, by expansion of the child tax credit. And why is that? Because during the first year of a young couple, of a person's child's life, they're going to need help buying a crib, buying a car seat. And we all benefit when they're actually able to do what they naturally want to do to take care of their child.
And expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share.
How crazy is it that we're only 6 weeks away from the election? We have 1 full week of September left, and then the month of October, and then 1 week of November. And this is Harris's first solo interview. That's wild. But to address the substance of what was said, anytime I hear the phrase affordable blank, my eyes start to turn into the back of my head, because it's not really it's just a nebulous way of referring to something. Affordable healthcare. It's like, okay, well, how do you deduce what people can afford or cannot afford? It's just a term that doesn't mean anything. Like, she mentions the fact that people are, I guess, becoming discouraged with buying a home for the first time, and this idea that the American dream is dead. And I'm just telling you that like it is. I don't think if she's serious about it, she would go with such a term that doesn't really mean anything. But if you go through the rest of her proposals, this is stuff I like. Giving the tax credit for the first years of a child's life, even though, unfortunately, as we've discussed, birth rates are decreasing, and people my view is that that's more so because of just the whole push to not have kids by a lot of modern individuals. But whatever. But so I'm just saying that might not be as effective as people would like it to be, but it's still something I'd support being offered. And this part's really interesting. The refraining from increasing taxes on households with less than $400,000 of annual income. See, that's something that if Harris is smart, her and her campaign and staffers and aides, and if the K-Hive is actually a group of real people or just some bots from a few years ago, they should all be repeating that ad nauseum, because the Republicans are going to go, they're going to raise your taxes. They're going to raise your taxes. Now, of course, they're going to say that and leave out the part where it's only for people who make over $400,000 a year. I don't think I know anyone who, I hate to use just something anecdotal, but I can't think of any person I know that makes $400,000 a year. Like, my job, at maximum, it's like $30K, which I say at maximum because I'm a part-time employee. They always got to find a way to screw people out of more money. So, I'm not anywhere near approaching that threshold, which is why it's something that she should continue when she gives these public appearances to state outright. I'm going to increase your taxes if you make over $400,000 a year, because the Republicans are going to spend the next 6 weeks saying that the Democrats are going to raise your taxes, raise, and all that crap. And you saw how excited they were over Harris saying that she didn't want taxes on tips for waiters, so they're going to try to say like she pivoted or switched when she didn't. One thing that Rule said, and it's important to understand that with a lot of these rich pricks on television, like it's often said by conservatives that, oh, the media is in the pocket of Democrats. They're in the pockets of establishment, rich people. So it's not good for business to be against LGBT people or people of a certain ethnicity, because businesses want to maximize their profits, and they do that by appealing to everyone that fits into whatever uncontrollable group that they may be part of. But when it comes to economic things, when you start talking about increasing taxes or doing something to wealthy people, oh, here they come. You got Rule talking about, how do you stop those businesses from going overseas if they don't want their taxes to be increased? And I said, it's like you don't create laws for people who are going to break them. I mean, like, what is the incentive for them to not? Like, I guess what I'm saying is, if you propose a law or a bill, whatever you want to call it, some proposal you have that is intended to benefit a majority of people, and most of us are not business owners, most of us are not making over 400,000 a year. There's really no reason to not go through with it other than just not being able to get it passed by Congress. And that was actually something that one of the few things Rule said that was worth listening to. She was like, "Hey, look, how are you going to get this passed?" And really, I'm predicting that if the Democrats are not able, it's going to go this way. If Harris wins this election and becomes the next president, you're going to see two scenarios play out. She's either not going to be able to get this passed because there's Republicans, right, still controlling the House, or maybe now they control the Senate, and she'll spend the first 2 years of her presidency basically being able to do nothing but throw around a bunch of executive orders and tell us that we need to vote for more Democrats so they can, get change or things done, whatever. Or we're going to get into a Build Back Better situation where they're technically able to get, let's say, most Democrats to support it. But then there's that one or those two holdouts, right, like Manchin, who it might not be in this particular case, but still, there's other Democrats like Mark Kelly who try to do the whole "I'm a centrist" nonsense. And if they do that, we're going to be stuck in the same scenario where she has this like slightly ambitious idea, and she has to significantly water it down for the sake of getting like one more vote or two more votes. Just doomsday nightmare stuff. But that is a good question to ask her, because unfortunately we live in an extremely partisan era where if your party does not control both chambers of Congress, you can pretty much forget about getting anything passed. And it's been this way for 20 years. Ever since Bush won his second term back in 2004 and McConnell saw how the Democrats gained nothing by working with him, it's just been an era, a really a almost 2 decade long sustained period of just hyper partisanship. And that's the thing that I'm most worried about with Harris's potential term as president if she's able to win this election, because I don't think she has and to be fair, I don't think Obama had the skills either. Biden a little bit more so because he's been in Congress for so long, but I don't think she has the political acumen to be able to get bills passed, or when it comes to being able to persuade members of the other party or even the more conservative members of her own party. She has the same error, or I guess fault, that Obama had, which is this, there's a lot of that like hope and change type talk when they're running for office, where I get people excited. But then when they get in office and the reality hits that, oh wait, this person doesn't support this or is against that, they're just not able to respond to it in a way that actually gets their agenda passed. But all in all, it was a good interview. It's sad that you have reporters asking questions that are kind of tough a little bit, right? But it's not because they're actually interested in looking out for regular people. Um, those corporations have rule right in their pocket. They're like, hey, when you go and interview Harris, you better make sure you figure out what she's trying to do with her economic ideas. We want billionaires to pay their fair. And you see Harris, she's so scared. I have no problem with people who are successful. It's like, you shouldn't have to say that. Just say, listen, these people have way more money than most of us, so they should have to pay more in taxes. It's that simple. If they don't like it, they better hope I don't win. I mean, it's just like, again, this is one of the things I talked about where I said, people who want to be in leadership positions have to be able to take a stand. They can't talk in these like scared, I'm sort of afraid of this group or this person has a lot of money. Just show some courage for once. But besides that, it was a good interview, and I hope she does at least a few more before the election. At this rate, I don't think so.